All right, let's just jump right into it. Today, we're taking a look at an explainer that completely flips the script on monster hunting, turning what feels like a fringe idea into a legitimate scientific detective story. Look, when most of us hear cryptozoology, our brains instantly go to, super blurry photos of Bigfoot or those late-night cable specials. But the source material we're digging into today, it's honestly so much more profound than that. This is a field that literally forces us to question how we perceive the world, bridging this massive gap between ancient folklore and modern biology. So, why do we search for monsters in the first place? Well, it's just human nature to be curious, right? But the actual mystery we're unpacking here is how our brains process reality. We are completely hardwired to look for whatever might be hiding just out of sight, right there in the shadows. But as you'll see throughout this explainer, what we think we see, what we remember seeing, and what's actually physically there, well, those are often three entirely different things.
Here's our roadmap for this investigation. We're going to hit the hunt for hidden animals, classifying the unknown, the psychology of sightings, native wisdom and myths, and finally, why cryptozoology matters. Let's get moving.
All right, Section 1, the hunt for hidden animals. Let's set some ground rules and establish the actual scientific parameters of this wildly misunderstood field. The absolute most crucial point here is that cryptozoology is not just a bunch of people running through the woods chasing Bigfoot. It is actually a really rigorous framework for evaluating ethnographic and physical evidence to find real flesh and blood animals. It's about taking those crazy local legends, the anecdotal sightings, the weird footprints, and putting them all under a multidisciplinary microscope. We're talking about mashing up zoology, anthropology, linguistics, and history just to find a needle in a global haystack.
To put that massive scope into perspective, just think about the sheer encyclopedic volume of this pursuit. There are guides documenting hundreds upon hundreds of alleged creatures, literally everywhere from the darkest ocean depths to the most remote, unmapped mountains. This isn't just, 5 or 6 famous monsters. It's an entire index of global mysteries. It takes an unbelievable amount of patience and, honestly, passion to sift through thousands of accounts looking for the genuine biological anomalies.
Moving right along to Section 2, classifying the unknown. So how exactly do researchers categorize these bizarre sightings when mainstream science says they don't even exist?
What's genuinely fascinating here is that the vast majority of cryptids are not supernatural monsters at all. They're actually ordinary biological anomalies, animals in the wrong place, or just straight-up hoaxes. For instance, you have the eastern puma, a totally normal animal. It's just being spotted in places where experts say it definitely shouldn't be. Then there are outsized variations, like rumors of an absolutely gigantic anaconda. And yeah, down at the bottom of the list, we've got to acknowledge the misidentifications and the fakes. The cryptozoologist's actual job is to strip away all the myth and figure out exactly which bucket a reported creature falls into.
Which brings us to Section 3, the psychology of sightings. This is really the analytical core of this entire explainer. The absolutely fascinating, yet incredibly fragile nature of the human mind during an encounter. Now, to be clear, no one is saying witnesses are crazy, but human memory universally suffers from things like memory slippage, fear, and expectancy. Basically, our brains actively rewrite what our eyes see. Think about it. If you're standing by a dark, creepy lake and you already expect to see a monster, that's expectancy, your brain is primed to interpret a floating log as a living creature. And if you didn't get a good look, your brain might literally invent a fin or glowing eyes just to fill in the blanks. That's called confabulation. Add in conformity, where you alter your own memory to match the friend standing next to you, and you realize an honest witness can present a completely false picture without ever intending to lie. The usual pattern of shock, surprise, near panic, and rapid flight perfectly captures the fear and stress factor. When you are literally running for your life from a massive unknown beast, your brain is absolutely not taking detailed notes on the creature's taxonomy. You're not checking its ear shape or its teeth. Your brain is just screaming, "Run!" So by the time you're safe in trying to tell the story to a researcher, those exact biological details are completely lost in a massive haze of adrenaline. Okay, let's shift gears to Section 4, native wisdom and myths. This is where the detective work gets super delicate. There's a real tension here between Western scientific arrogance and indigenous folklore, and we have to strike a very careful balance. Historically, explorers would just write off native stories as childish fairy tales, meaning they missed out on actual, real animals. But today, we sometimes swing way too far in the other direction, acting like every piece of local folklore is infallible biology.
The reality? Whether you live in downtown Manhattan or an Amazonian village, you have the exact same human brain. We are all prone to the same superstitions, the same memory slippage, and the same misidentifications. Let's look at an amazing real-world example. Science actually proved the Matsiz Indians 100% right about the giant monkey tree frog. For years, Westerners heard these stories about a magic potion that supposedly made hunters superhuman and invisible to their prey. Sounds like pure magic, right? Super easy to dismiss. But once biochemists actually tested the frog sap, no way. They found powerful natural painkillers and emetics that literally flush human odors from the body. The local myth was totally grounded in hard biological science.
But on the flip side, people in parts of India are absolutely terrified of the Eublepharis hardwickies gecko. They call it the bis cobra, and local legend says it has the venomous killing power of 20 cobras. In reality, it's completely harmless, not venomous at all. But the cultural expectation and the fear surrounding it are so intense that the myth completely overrides the physical reality.
When you consider these two creatures, they perfectly represent the entire cryptozoological detective story. You've got one native tale totally validated by rigorous biochemistry, and another completely driven by powerful human expectation and myth. And that right there is why you can never blindly accept a story, but you can't blindly reject it either. You've got to do the legwork.
To bring it all home, let's jump into Section 5, Why Cryptozoology Matters. So why do we even keep looking? Well, tracking local rumors and just keeping an open mind has honestly led to some massive, undeniable zoological breakthroughs. Take the coelacanth. Everyone thought it had been extinct for millions of years, until one randomly showed up in a fishing net in 1938. And how did they find the second one in 1952? By literally interviewing locals and following the folklore. Or what about the hooded pitohubi bird? Locals in New Guinea claimed it was poisonous. Scientists laugh, saying there's no such thing as a poisonous bird. Well, cut to 1990, and they realized the bird secretes the exact same toxins as poison dart frogs. The timeline of this field proves that the fringes of science repeatedly become the mainstream.
I mean, just think about the Kraken. The legendary ship-destroying monster of ancient lore is now literally sitting in natural history museums as the giant squid. For centuries, learned men of science just laughed off sailors' tales of giant tentacles pulling ships into the abyss. It was pure myth. Today, we know for a fact that giant squid is a biological reality, hunting in the deep ocean and leaving massive sucker scars on the sides of sperm whales. It took an agonizingly long time for science to catch up, but it proves that where there's a cultural footprint, there is often a real biological foot making it.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this one thought. If our highly flawed memories and ancient myths can eventually lead us to discovering giant squids and magic frogs, what else is hiding just out of sight? The world is massive, our ecosystems are insanely complex, and despite all our crazy modern tech, the deep oceans and dense jungles are still holding on to their secrets. The pursuit of the unknown isn't anti-science at all. It's literally the frontier of discovery itself. Keep questioning, keep looking closely at the world around you, and never, ever assume we know it all.